Now, here in Australia, with the federal elections coming up soon, we found that there is a new party, a new political party. It's called Online Direct Democracy. And they are based, their policies, they have actually one policy, and that is based on the real democracy, the direct democracy. Now, we caught up with some of the candidates. Let's have a look. Hello, Hellene. Could you please define for us what is democracy?
Democracy is a system of governance that allows every citizen to have a say about the laws in their own country. The importance of democracy is that every person has a voice and it's heard, and also it's the importance of debating all different views.
Do you have any examples of direct democracy implemented here in Australia?
There are some excellent examples of democracy in Australia where referendums played an important part. One that comes to mind that actually is of a historical significance for our country is the 1967 referendum, where Australians voted overwhelmingly for the inclusion of Indigenous people in the census, and also allowed the Commonwealth to make laws about them. Another example that comes to mind is the 1999 Republic referendum, where again Australians were asked to vote whether Australia wanted to be a republic or still be part of the monarchy. And again Australians voiced their opinion by saying that they wish to remain as they are, that means part of the monarchy, and rejected the idea of a republic and having a president as our governing head. Another example is the yes or no referendum for Australia becoming a federation. In the 1800s, Australia was consisted of different colonies, and they all had to have referendums to decide whether they wanted to become one nation. It was overwhelmingly a yes referendum, and we are here today as one nation.
Australia wasn't a country. It was just the name of a continent divided into 6 very separate British colonies. They had different leaders and different laws. They even had their own armies. But there were some people pushing to change that. After much negotiating, in 1891 the delegates drew up a draft constitution for the Commonwealth of Australia. Many kept fighting for the cause of federation, like Alfred Deakin. He was part of a new generation, born and bred in Australia, who thought the continent should be a united country. Eventually, he helped to convince the colonies to give it another shot. This time, people got to vote for representatives who'd helped to draw up a new constitution. But eventually, a new constitution was drawn up, and most colonies let their people vote on whether or not they wanted in. In 1899, all of the colonies except Western Australia said yes. Australia was about to become a nation. In 1901, in Sydney's Centennial Park, the Commonwealth of Australia was proclaimed a federation with 6 states. The Northern Territory and the ACT would come along a few years later.
We are here today as one nation because of democracy.
Now, what about around the world? Is there another example around the world with direct democracy?
There are other countries in the world that implement this system of true democracy in forms of referendums, and one country that comes to mind is Switzerland. In Switzerland, when they have bills that they need to propose, they actually take them to the public, and they have these long, expensive and laborious referendums that happen. But at the end of the day, the people have a say, and they have their say heard, and they're part of the political process.
In Switzerland, the people have a say in almost everything. Swiss citizens can propose legislation, and they can overturn legislation already approved by Parliament. Any change to the Swiss constitution must first pass by the people, and so must a range of other things, anything from building a local gym to whether or not to legalize the consumption of cannabis. Popular votes in Switzerland take place at 3 levels: at the municipal, cantonal, or national level. This is in line with the principle of subsidiarity, under which the central authority only performs tasks which cannot be handled at a lower level.
A typical vote at municipal level might be on public construction projects. In the city of Zurich, for example, voters agreed to the building of a new stadium. At cantonal level, voters have been asked about issues such as not smoking in restaurants. Issues relevant to the whole of Switzerland are put to nationwide vote. Examples include the Schengen-Dublin Agreement with the EU on justice and asylum, or legislation recognising same-sex registered partnerships.
Democracy doesn't get much more open than this. Every April, voters in Appenzell in northeastern Switzerland flood the central square to elect local leaders and judges, not by casting ballots, but raising their hands.
Okay, so in Switzerland, direct democracy comes to the citizens of Switzerland with referendums. Now, what do you propose? How do you propose to implement direct democracy with your movement?
With the online direct democracy, we take it a step further. With the use of technology, people can have easy access and directly have their say about multiple issues. In other words, all the proposed bills will be on our POLLYWEB. People can actually access them at their own time. They can actually read about them at their own time, and they can vote about them, have their say about them at their own time. So it's a very easy, quick, accessible system, and most important of all, you are part of the lawmaking process.
So will you use referendums like in Switzerland?
Referendums are only held when Parliament proposes changes to the Australian Constitution, whether that would be at a federal, state or territory level. But with the online direct democracy proposed model, you will be able to vote on any proposed bill at any time. So you will have a direct say on what's happening on all the bills. And you don't have to go through your electorate member. The process is a lot faster, it's cheaper, and it's accessible.
Okay, can you tell me if the online direct democracy can be implemented in other levels of government, or it's only for federal government?
With the online direct democracy model, what we can do, we can apply it to all levels of government, from local to state and federal. You can have your say on all issues, whether it's affecting your local community, the wider community, or your country as a whole. You will be access the policies, the information, the decision, and have your say. And that is a very powerful tool to have your say directly heard. For example, with the Windsor Bridge matter, by using the online direct democracy model, people in that community have the power to have their say and vote to the future of the bridge, whether it would stay or go. And that is a very powerful concept.
Well, thank you for explaining what online direct democracy is. But before we go, do you have a message for our viewers?
If you want to have your say in matters that affect your community and your country, then online direct democracy party is the avenue for you, because you can access all proposed bills and you can have your say directly on what affects you, your community and your country.
Okay.